let's talk about the actual physical change of real estate. What's happening? I mean, with Cushman & Wakefield, we put out a big report called the 6-foot office space. Essentially, going back to cubicles, larger cubicles, no more bench seating, giving room in between your coworkers. There's going to be a system when you go up the elevator that everybody kind of stays on the corner. And I don't think landlords have quite figured it out already, and we're certainly not in the phase to get back to the office completely. And you're also seeing the shifts of 25% of the employee going back, and then maybe shifts at A squad and a B squad. But regarding the physical changes of layouts and putting together, maybe constructing a building in a certain way or a different way, what physical changes are you seeing? I'll throw this out to the group of whoever wants to jump in.
I'll take a quick stab at it. Well, not so quick because it's a big, juicy topic. So what you're talking about falls under the rubric of return to work, or at least that's the emerging, hashtag for it. And there are a couple of things that either the head of corporate real estate or the head of HR for large companies are thinking about right now. So as we get into phase 2 and phase 3 and people are starting to come back, they got to deal with a couple of different issues. So number one, there's going to be a good chunk of their employee base that don't want to come back. Not because they like working at home, because, God, I'm done working at home. I'm fantasizing about going to Starbucks, right? But it's because they may be older, they may be immunocompromised, they may simply be nervous. They don't want to get on the subway, they don't want to get on Metro Rail. So for these reluctant workers, they need to come up with something. They need, especially if they're actually immunocompromised or older, they need to make a reasonable accommodation. So they're starting to think about, do I put some budget into letting them get a better chair for their office, right? A better teleconference, right? Now, I might actually have to give them money to make them more effective if they're going to be working from home. Or conversely, I can't have them work at home. They can work at a co-working style space that's nearer to them, that's set up appropriately. So they're starting to think about perhaps allocating some budget for that. And that rolls into, you said this really fast, so I'm not sure if everyone heard it, the phased return, right? So if you take a footprint of an office that's designed around a certain density, and now you're saying, it's got to be 6 feet. You need a lot more space in the long run. I know there's some people that are saying that's massively beneficial tailwinds to landlord in the long run. We'll see. But in the short run, if you're a corporate HR officer, you got to figure out, how do you get people back into the office and physically make them fit? So phased returns might be certain departments coming back. It might be rotating. Certain groups have the office one week and then the other week, they're working from home and vice versa. Or again, maybe you've got overflow space in corporate, in co-working. Or some of them are trying to make lemonade from lemons on their own by saying, well, we just had all these other places go bust. Can we repurpose that space and make it our own temporary workspace, co-working space, or overflow? So all of these things are factoring into the discussion when it comes to the tenant saying, what do I do over the next 6 months to a year? Hopefully we get a vaccine and this is all but an unpleasant memory in a year or 2 years. But until then, there's a lot of adjustment. And then people are going to think pretty far outside of the box during those 6, 12, 18 months.
Phil or Drew, jump in here.
I mean, so personally at Lex, we are trying to monitor how other people are doing it. We want to do it the right way and make sure that everyone does feel safe, since it's not just the practicality of making or having everyone come back, but sort of, as you were saying, Trelly, too, is people who are a little older, immunocompromised, just worried about the situation themselves, is to make sure that they feel comfortable coming back to a workspace and that the workspace works for them and their personal needs. So it's actually more, even touches mental health, because you don't want to force them to be in an environment where they feel uncomfortable. And it does sort of push towards the notion of more space and sort of larger layouts, just so you have separation and people can feel comfortable. And I mean, funny enough, I know WeWork was a complete fiasco, but in a different scenario, it could have actually been a great boon for their business model, just because it is flexible workspace. You have the ability to grow out. Just interesting to see how the world plays out, sort of ironic.
if I may interject really quickly, is from the residential standpoint, one of the things that we've seen and is having antivirus. And so really there's been this paradigm shift in terms of how we think of hygiene naturally, because people didn't want to die. And this has led to a shift in the markets of sanitary, like the sanitizers. The prices went up for a little bit. Toilet paper, for no apparent real reason, just the price would go up. And now we have these things where people come in and almost like an exterminator would to kill roaches, like the bombs. There's stuff like that happening. I'm seeing that is approaching me. Look, we can make yours antivirus compliant. I don't even know what that means. But these are some of the things that we'll see, and whether I believe in it or not, which I happen to do, it doesn't even really matter, because the end user, the customer, their tenant has to feel safe and feel comfortable. And we have to make sure that people aren't jeopardized from that standpoint, even if it's their tenants and it's up to them how they carry their hygiene and passing germs onto each other. Still, there is some sort of responsibility as a landlord, as a property owner to have things like that. So I think that's something that we're seeing from the residential standpoint. What are some things that could help keep this new increased higher level of hygiene, really? Because I think we're rethinking hygiene in a lot of ways. At first, when the whole thing hit, I thought people that had the mask looked absolutely ridiculous. Now it's just what we're doing. So, and it is becoming fashionable. There's design. So I think some form of technology or products around antivirus sanitation and this, sanitizing and this stuff like that, I think we'll see more. At least I've seen some indicators of that.
So Phillips really are onto it. Like that third category, lemonade from lemons, is where I'm seeing that happening all the time. So you have access control companies out there, both on the residential and on the commercial side, which are now, stressing they have touchless access, right? You don't have to put a fingerprint on it, you have to do anything, you have to swipe a card or keypads. It was a feature they supported for a long time, but now it's bumped up to #1 in their marketing. Or we have another company, this is actually a portfolio company of ours called Cognition. They use video to make sure that the person who just swiped in is who they say they are. So they can connect to any IP-related connected camera. Now, that camera could be a thermal camera. No one's ever asked them for that before. It's if there's a feature list, that is like below the bottom of the fold for them. Except now, a thermal camera at the front desk, which alerts you if any of the delivery people have elevated body temperature, boom, that went right up. So they've actually taken that ability, taken a small portion of their total functionality, given it away for free during the virus. It's a way they can do, they can do good and at the same time get their foot in the door, sorry, no pun intended, with potential sales prospects for later. And I've even seen a company, this is not a Dreamit company, they're a drone company that was originally going out there to do cleanings, right? Windows, walls, exterior cleanings, big heavy tether with cleaning spray sprayed against the wall. Like those contracts dried up. No one was paying for that now. Well, smart guys, they pivoted quite literally. They turned the nozzle, pointed it down, put a sanitizing solution, put electrostatic sprayers on it. And now they're selling to stadiums who will need to sanitize these huge areas in a short period of time between games, right? Same drone, different nozzle, different sprayer. Doesn't have to be tethered anymore because it's, it's less liquid per square foot. So we're already seeing a lot of companies either stressing stuff that wasn't important before, moving some stuff up on the dev pipeline in reaction where they can react quickly, or otherwise, just making hay while the sun's shining. I will say that, there are companies that come back to me and they're like, we're going to do a total pivot. We're going to do this. And I tell them, don't bother. There are other startups that are closer to where you want to go. I guarantee you there are a lot of people thinking of it. If you're going to throw out your entire model and try to do something else, you're going to be late to that party. But if you're in an adjacent space like that, you got to figure that out, because this could be a really, really big opportunity for you to both do good and do well.